Okay, for the people who want to know how to hook up the standalone computer for the Allison, when you do like a 12 valve conversion, it comes with the wiring harness. This is from CA Conversions. You just hook up the wiring harness how it would be. Comes onto your frame rail up to the TCM. That comes into here. You can mount it wherever. Here's the harness that comes up into your engine compartment. You got one going to your TPS sensor. The Allison needs a TPS reference to know when to shift and all that. They send you this TPS sensor or this TPS and this cable that hooks up to your heat pump bracket, and you have to adjust it and get it so it's right. The harness comes with scan tool port, so you can check what codes are. It has this, I'm not sure what that is, but it's on there. And then the wiring that you need, you have 3 wires. For these 3 wires, they go into your dash. I put a connector on it. It's just wires. That way when I pull the cab off, I don't have to take all the wires out of my dash. The purple and yellow wire go to your torque converter lockout. So it's like basically a tow mode. So you just put a toggle switch in there, connecting those 2. And then the gray wire goes to it's the ground for your check engine light. So you find a little light bulb or whatever, LED light bulb, put it in your dash, hook power to that, and then hook the gray wire to the other side for your ground. And when you have a check engine light on, it'll pop on. The other wires that you need are the red and black, which go right to your battery. You want to put a 10 amp fuse on your positive, and your ground goes right to the battery. And then your orange wire goes to 12 volt ignition switch. So, and that's it. There's one more wire, which is your brown wire, that if your speedometer isn't in your transfer case, if it's in your transmission, then you would use that. But mine's in my transfer case, so I don't need it. I have a 5-speed transmission, which I have the older version, so my neutral safety switch is a little different, so you have to pay a little more for that. And if you have a 2003 newer TCM, they can possibly reprogram yours, and you would save, quite a bit of money on having to buy a new TCM. Mine was a 2002, so I had to purchase a new one of those. You have to have a different torque converter. I had to upgrade my torque converter with the torque and horsepower that the Cummins 12 valve puts out. With the stock torque converter, it would just totally wreck it. I made my own brackets for a GM alternator and a GM AC pump. I made my own lower radiator snout for the water inlet or outlet. I made my own heater hoses, the metal lines. I had to make my own downpipe. I bought one for first gen 12 valve. Modified the pipe so it was turned in and screwed it up a little more. Had to bend my tranny dipstick tube so it cleared the firewall. As far as the firewall goes, I had to recess it in just a little bit, probably about an inch. I pounded the seam all the way up and then shot her with some new paint. I have the aluminum freeze plug block off on the back. I had to mill out the bottom of it so it would clear for the adapter plate. I put the hydraulic lines for the tranny lines, which they were long enough for when I moved back the transmission cross member. I had to move it back like 4 5/8 of an inch, which basically I moved the front bolt to the back bolt hole, and that's where it's at, and then drilled a new back bolt hole. And then I had to make adapters for the torsion bars to extend them like 3 1/2 inches. And then I had to move the torsion bar cross member back, I guess, 3 1/2 inches. There's a little play in that. You could, move it in and out a little bit. So, I mean, you just had to have enough room to clear the transfer case. I shortened up the drive shaft 4 5/8. I extended the front drive shaft 4 5/8. All the transfer case wiring is the same. I put new brake lines on, so I have the cab up. This is the stock Duramax exhaust from the, turn down here and then all the way back to stock. I did have to relocate the exhaust holder for right by the transmission, and then when I disconnected my plug on the main big plug on the transmission, the inside seal leaked, and I had to replace that. And they sent you the big outside one and then the inside one. This is what the outside one looks like, and then the inside one is a little black piece in there, and it's not too hard to pull out. I don't see it. See it here. Ran my stock wiring for my alternator. Found out my alternator was bad, so replaced that. All the stock wiring worked fine. I had to extend my AC lines, AC wiring a little bit. I ran a new line to the battery just on this side instead of crossing all the way over to the junction box. I have it all to right lengths and everything, so I'm gonna relume it so it's nice and clean. Ran my stock water temperature gauge. I'm gonna run my crank sensor. I made a mount for the Duramax crank sensor wheel, but when I was trimming out the wiring, I kind of cut it out of the wires out of the computer for it, so I have to get a manual and see what pins I need to put the wiring in, but I ran the wires all the way to the computer. I made my own adapter for the oil pressure gauge from the pipe thread to the 14 millimeter by 1.5 or something straight threads. I made my own adapters. This is a motor out of a bus, so the P pump where the bracket for the throttle would bolt on, the holes are different, so I had to make inserts and made it so it took stock P-pump bolts and bracket. I got a cat fuel filter on it. I made my own adapter to hold that on. And then I ran all steel braided lines. I got the aluminum tappet cover with I'm gonna run some just rubber hose down, maybe to a catch can or something. I got AFC Live in the cab, so I ran all that. I had to make my own dipstick hose wire and a handle because of all the bends in the dipstick tube. So I made my own handle. I have the factory boost gauges and stuff on there. That's the stock Duramax power steering pump. I bought the adapter to mount it right into the gears. It has no vacuum pump or anything. Stock lines, I just had to pull them a little bit so it had a little more room. All the battery cables and stuff are stock. That's about it. I mean, I put the 4K governor valves in it. I put the 60-pound valve springs in it. Put new head gaskets in it. Is it Jonesy's Garage or Adventure Off-Road or something? They make like a bracket like this, which that's what I kind of made mine off of. But they make it where you have to run the water pump neck that goes up, the industrial one. And then I made mine where it uses the stock Dodge one, and then I made my belt pulleys so it misses it. I'm running a 6 groove belt instead of the 8 because I didn't want to change my pulleys on my alternator and AC compressor. I did the killer dowel pin. I got the power driven diesel adjustable timing gear for the P pump. Put a new crank pulley on there. Made my own motor mounts. Put a steel braided drain onto for the turbo drain, and then a dash 4 braided line to the oil filter housing. When I bought the hose for that, I bought a 12-inch long line with a 90 on one side and a straight on the other. It's the perfect length. It's a stock Dodge manifold. Just a cheapy turbo. Nothing special, just stock basically. That's about it. Ran a little gas valve in the tranny line, so I didn't have to keep disconnecting it and losing trans fluid while I test fitted it and ran it. Runs great. No leaks. When I had the transfer case out, I did the pump upgrade. I pulled it apart. I actually already had the same pump housing on it, so it doesn't make a hole in your transfer case. So I just used the gasket and sealer. Put it back together, painted it up, fresh fluid. New seal on the output seal. That's about it. I got a pretty rust-free cab. Brought it back from California. Got the stock radiator and intercooler. Didn't change anything there. And now I'm just, I had it together, running, driving. Now I'm taking it apart and finishing up the wiring and paint my brackets and put her back together and drive it like it's supposed to be driven. So, there it is. Take the Duramax out, put a 12 valve in. Make it reliable.